Hello everyone, thank you very much for joining today. For today's event, I suggest a discussion on how to get employed, especially if you are an entry-level developer. And I decided to create this event due to the large number of questions and discussions I have recently got on my social media. So in the past weeks, there were and even I would say past months, I already not only weeks, past months, there were a lot of people asking me different questions, but all of them related to one topic, which is how to get nowadays employed. It seems that we are in not so good, not so welcoming period of time where getting employed as a Java developer, as a software developer in general, is not as easy as it was a couple of years ago or maybe a year ago. Things seem to become more and more difficult. So instead of getting us encouraged, they tend to discourage us and try. We can't think anymore that we will find our way in, no, and then that's what we want. So I have collected a number of questions that I have also shared with you. I'm going to share my screen. I put them, it's not a specific order. I think it's just the order in which I managed to get them from my social media. I try to only extract as much as possible the questions because sometimes I got long messages or I had discussions and yeah, they are not relevant for the topic now, and I want to focus on this. And of course, in case you have questions, I do already see questions in the live chat. Thank you very much. I want to take them as well, and I will even treat with priority the questions from the live chat. So with that being said, I also say hi, of course. And if you are here with me live, remember you have that live chat there. You can put your questions in the live chat. You can share discussions. And if you're not with us live, this session will stay recorded on my channel as usual. You can use the comments section. And you can find me on social media, LinkedIn, Twitter. You know that already. Okay, so I didn't even start. I have some questions and I said I will treat with priority those from the chat, so let me do that. Can you suggest me data structure algorithms? Can I copy this? Let me try to copy it here to mark it somehow. So can you suggest me some data structure and algorithm is important for experience, for an experienced developer? I would say yes. So having an algorithmical knowledge, skills give you some advantages in writing the code. So it's not, even if in many cases in practice you deal with a lot of situations where parsing a list of elements and putting some decisional structures there, if else it's enough. There are cases where you need to do a little bit more than that. So if your question is should I study data structures and algorithms or not, my answer would be yes, of course. I don't say that you have to upfront learn by heart everything and know how to parse graphs and by heart and know how to deal with trees by heart and then learn how to sort all the methods of sorting algorithms by heart and stuff like that. That's not what I meant. And same with the data structures which are related. Yeah, you need to understand them. You need to know as much as possible. Treat them like an exercise at the gym. No, you use them as you do those games with words. No, when you learn a foreign language, you don't necessarily always remember all the words that you learn, but with that and with time you get better and better. That's how I suggest using data structures and algorithms. But they are important, yes, so don't treat them like they don't matter at all and I don't go through them because I don't need them and in real life you don't use them. So No, it's not like that. So do use them because they train your brain in an algorithmical way, in a way in which you will find them useful through years. So in years from now on doing that, you will get some skills that will be very helpful for you when you write code. So that was the first. Then I have, should we know integrations with messaging systems like Kafka? Also, is reactive avoidable? If you ask me as a junior developer, so should I learn Kafka or RabbitMQ up front? Should I be experienced with reactive? I would say not necessarily. So let me actually say yes, use them as exercise for your brain, but don't try to simply just learn them by heart. Okay, so this was shortly my answer for the first question. The second question I would say, as a junior, entry level, no, focus on other things more important. Okay, so just for you to remember the short answer for every question. Okay, leaving Java development and going into machine learning, the Java development jobs demand at least 5 years of experience. I'm not sure if that is a question. If it is a question, please rephrase it. If the question is, should I leave the Java development for machine learning? I would say it's your decision, but that doesn't mean that Java developers will not exist anymore. It's still a thing. So for years from now on, as long as you learn Java, I promise you will not have problems, even with ChatGPT being there on the things. So Adrian says, I'm currently a junior mid Java developer. Due to your content and my own research, I'm happy to hear that my content helped. Hopefully that was your statement. Currently I want to learn about Kafka and CQRS. Could you make a video about that? Yes, I will not answer this question as part of this because it's not related to the topic, but yes, that's a good point. I will put it on my list. Where do I bring that experience without being hired? I think I do already have a question here, so let me, this is your question actually. I will treat it as being the same, and I will put it here up because it was also in the chat. So how can I gain experience without a job? No, that's one of the main questions, one of the most frequently encountered questions I got on my social media. Well, it's difficult because you see nowadays I see many companies, they do expect that we employ you 20-year-old guy, but we expect you have 15 years experience, which is of course unrealistic. Yes, that was more of a joke, but this is kind of what we feel. And point is that it's unfair because many of the people who are requesting that are not really realistic. No, you cannot expect that someone who gets out of the faculty benches already has experience that you can compare with someone with already like 2 or 3 years at least in the market, and that's that feels unfair. So how can you gain experience? One of the ways to gain experience is to work on your own projects. So create own projects. So you know what I did when I was at the very beginning. I thought about projects, and I thought about things that I could actually even turn into my own business. I never had the chance because I'm not a businessman. I discovered that it's not something I like to do, so I never turned one of my projects into a real application, but I thought about projects myself, and I tried to create them and transform them into applications that could be sold. And at some point, like many years ago, I thought about applications such as, for example, I wanted to create a client management application for restaurants where you can, for example, use a QR code or an NFC to log in at the table of a restaurant and be able to order without needing someone to take your order. And I know stuff like that exists, and you find it now throughout the whole world and in airports. But at that time there wasn't such a thing, or there wasn't so encountered, and I created that myself. So did I do anything with it in the end? No, but I gained so much experience. So it was something that paid worth my time in the end. Through all the things that I made, I made a lot of mistakes creating that system. It was an entire system. I even published it in cloud. I used AWS. I had the 3-tier for a year, and I published it on virtual machines. I learned how to use alarms so I don't get taxed. I learned how to use a credit card that has no money on it, so I don't get taxed. I learned how to create automation scripts to raise EC2 machines, what kind of EC2 machines are there, forced me into learning, helped me into making mistakes without paying anything in the end, because it wasn't a real project. In the end, I anyway ended up in an attic. I don't know even if I have the code anymore for that, but I worked a lot on that. So I spent hours per week. It's not per day. And I don't recommend you just take daily of your time. Maybe if you do that, take a short amount, but remember you also have a life. So I don't want to put you into that kind of life where you lose time only thinking about work and money, because that's not the right thing. I've learned that also myself. But if you think about something, if it's something that you can prove usable, even better, even better. Do find a friend that has a business and ask them, hey, my friend, what can I do for you? What kind of software would help you make your business better? And look, I do it for you for free, or I in the beginning I do it for you for free, and then if you believe that my work worth money, maybe you can even pay me for that. But in the end, when you do that, think that it's not something that you will gain money out of it, but treat it as the most real project you have, if that's what you have and you don't have a job yet. Put it there on a GitHub repository. Eventually, if you don't want to expose it, make it private, no worries. You can anyway share that with any recruiter or technical interviewer when that will be something that you need to prove your work, and use that as learning material is the best way. And then the second best way, but it's a little bit more difficult, it's open source projects. Open source projects for entry levels, it's a kind of a challenge. I would start with creating my own project, make a lot of mistakes, learn on my own how to deal with the task management, read about Agile, try to apply it in my way, and make as many mistakes as possible, because you make those mistakes, you will not be charged for them. The only thing you do is you transform your time into learning experience, and you will, I promise, be an excellent developer afterwards. Not to say that this project and the experience you will be able to describe at any technical interview will bring you a lot of advantage. Because you know how do you use this? So you, outside of what learning will bring, and the fact that you maybe, if you are not like me and you are more of a business folk, you will be even able to use it later, not as I did, and maybe not end up in an attic. You will be able to share this story with the technical interviewers at your technical interviews. and sharing something that really exists and telling about your challenges. Remember to always tell about your challenges. When you're at a technical interview, don't only tell, hey, I have a project, do you want me to share my private repository with you, and that's all. No, you say, hey, I have a project, this is my repository, do you want me to go through it and tell you about the challenges I had while working on this, and where did I learn and what did I learn from? And that's how you have to that's the attitude you need to have, and that's how you use that own project. And I'm telling you this because I do sometimes read different questions on different social medias and answers people give, and they only say, hey, create a project or create a portfolio, they say, of projects. Only one is enough. You can have a portfolio if you want, but one can be large enough that you don't need to have 100. You don't even need to have 2. Okay, if you find a project and you can transform it, think about it as real as you can. This is one of the biggest advantages you can bring to yourself as an entry level. And even if it's excuse my language, even if it's shitty in the end, what you end up with there, if you use it and you share it with those guys who will interview you at a company and tell them, hey, I know this is not the greatest shape of a project, but it's mine, and I spent weeks or months working on it, and I learned how to deal with the customer who is my friend owning a hotel or owning a restaurant or owning, I don't know what kind of business, a shop, and I implemented this, and I got into this trouble, and I solved it this way. And this is something that will sell you very, very well. I promise you. Do that, and you don't need to spend a lot of time. It's part of that practical thing that you have to do. Why do I say open source projects are a little bit more difficult? Is because, well, you already have to know a little bit of how to deal with tasks. Some open source projects use Jira, some others use some other kind of tool. You have to know how to already use Git and Git flow pretty well. Maybe something that will discourage you if you start up front, but once you have some experience, you can find an open source project, and any open source framework is a good framework. Try to take that as well. So once you feel a little bit more comfortable with managing tasks and so on, that's the 2 main approaches that I do recommend you to gain experience. And trust me, the first one I dealt with myself, the second as well. So I wasn't a junior when I started working on open source anymore. So that's why I said, hey, leave it for when you have a little bit more experience. But this, when I did this, I was literally a junior, and I managed to, it helped me a lot, no? And I did this first with PHP, by the way, and then I did the same thing with Java. So that's how I've learned both of the languages at the time. Now I only work with Java for many years. Okay, I did stay a lot of time on this, and oh my god, how many questions I have here. Ooh. Okay, hope I will be able to answer all of them. Otherwise, I will have to plan one more session for you, friends. So where was I? Where do I get experience? Okay, this is, and I point out I already had that on my social media. So ciao from Italy, Sardinia. Sardinia, wow, so nice. I've been there last year. Very, very nice place for sunbathing and water sports, by the way. So for me, there is no hope. More than 50 years and little more than entry level. I don't think there is no hope. I don't see why you say that. So as long as you prove experience, and this is a good way to do that, there is always hope you get into. And if there is no hope, let's put it like that, to what? To get into a larger company, into a corporation, fine enough. Okay, don't get into that. Make your own business. That's possible. I promise you it's possible. Start with this, create a project, make mistakes, make it better, even restart it from scratch at some point if it wasn't the best approach from the very beginning, and make your own business out of that. And you will see it's possible. It's something that you can do, and start small. Don't expect for a lot. but in 2 or 3 years, you might be surprised on where you get. And you will still do software development, make your own startup, and you don't need to be in a corporation for that. That's an additional advice that you can do if you feel in that situation. Should Java developer use Lombok since it's not perfect? Let's take this question outside because it's not related to the topic. I would say yes, I love Lombok, and nothing is perfect in the end. No, there is no perfection. So, but let's take that separately. Leave me a question, and I will try to address it in a separate video. Java jobs also require Angular, so I don't agree with that. I'm Java developer for many years. Do I know anything about Angular? Well, just a little bit, but no, it's very, very small amount of knowledge that I have. I do also have small amount of knowledge about a few other JavaScript frameworks. I do have a little bit of knowledge on front end as well. Am I a professional on front end? No, you might find out that I know less than a student or less than some students on the concern of front end in general, regardless it's Angular or something else. I've always only put my faith on Java. I did pass all my technical interviews with Java and only Java. And I make a great deal. So all the projects and these many projects I'm working on throughout the many past years, I managed to do in many of them a really good for all my clients. So I really improved a lot their businesses, and that's without knowing front end. Okay, so the answer is no. You don't require to know necessarily front end. You want to be full stack as you like it, do that yourself, but be aware that anyway, your time, your amount of time is the same. So whether you invest it only in Java and become a very good developer with Java, or you invest them in multiple languages and you automatically know less out of every one because you invest the same amount of time. So it's clearly mathematical that if you have 10 hours and you invest 10 hours in Java, you will know Java more than someone who invests, or yourself who invest only 5 hours in Java because they want to invest 5 hours in Angular. No, it's a mathematical truth. So, if that's what you want, that's something good. So it's not bad. But you don't have to do that to get employed, and you don't have to do that to be a developer. It's only your decision. So I was very glad to find a great job as a Java developer 3 months ago. Don't give up. Yeah, that's a very good advice, Mikhail. I do agree with you. Don't give up because you will find a job. And again, there are approaches and there are things that you need to do. If you stay and only stay and wait your job to fall out of your ceiling, that will definitely not happen. So there is some investment of time and energy that you have to do, but it will come. You will find that job, and then you will grow. And I will also give you at some point, maybe in a different event, ideas about what you can do to grow faster. Okay, but let's keep it now on how I do get employed. So regarding cloud technologies, especially AWS, what should you know as a mid developer, let's say? Very difficult to answer question. I mean, you may be a mid developer and know nothing about AWS. It's not there isn't any recipe on what you should know really for a junior, what you really should know for a mid, what you really should know for a senior. You might find senior developers who never worked with AWS. But they did work a lot with Azure, for example, because that's what their project they've been working on in the past 7 years required. And they didn't have time, for example, to try another cloud because they tried to get more familiar with the advancements of Spring and something else. So you see, it's very, I mean, even I know how much do I actually know about all the cloud in the many years I have as an experience. I know some AWS. It was my choice when I created my own project years ago. I know a bit of the main services of Azure because I do work with it and I've been working with it in the few past projects. So I've kind of in the past years more worked with Azure rather than AWS for for reasons that, I mean, don't really make any difference. I think it just happened. But do I know about Google Cloud a lot? Do I know about Alibaba? Do I know about Oracle Cloud? I've been touching a bit Oracle Cloud in a project. I've been touching a little bit Google Cloud in a project. I don't think I have ever created anything on Alibaba, and I don't think that I know anything about others, for example. So my advice is start with something and don't be stressed about, hey, do I know all of them, because it's not important. Important is you start with something, and today cloud is important. So if you create your own project, try to put it on a cloud, try to find the cheapest alternative you have. So for example, if AWS offers you a period of study, use that. For example, try to lose as less money as possible on that. Try to use it for study purpose, and it doesn't matter with which one you start with. Just try to start with some cloud, because using those services will get you hands-on with the idea of software as a service, with the idea of platform as a service, with the idea of containerization as a service, with the idea of managing the economics with cloud deployments. There are many things that you will learn only with something small, and it's not only about learning how to use Terraform scripts to deploy EC2 or whatever. It's about many other things which are rather more important than the technicalities behind AWS. So whether you learn by heart in the end how to create EC2 machines or not is rather less important than learning about load balancing, why you need circuit breaking, availability zones, regions, concepts that are more high level. This is what I advise you stay with when from the cloud, say, experience of your project. Oh man, so many questions. I'm already lost. What's the difference between reentrant lock and synchronized with a monitor? Again, let's discuss this in a separate. So leave me the question in the comment section eventually, and I will create a separate a video for that, or I will answer you, because it's not related to today's subject. So hello from Turkey. Very happy because I've been in Turkey like only a couple of months ago in Istanbul. I'm learning Spring Boot API development. I love this framework. I developed some APIs, but I want to use some Spring Tools microservices. What do you suggest? So I do suggest you get some books first of all, and you find some tutorials. Some great books are, for example, Microservices Patterns from Chris Richardson. I think Sam Neumann's Microservices, this one, Monolith to Microservices. It's a little bit older, but it's also very good. I mean, there are many books out there, and I think there are many resources. And what I do recommend you is try to read them. Don't study them. Don't try to take it like sentence by sentence, section by section, chapter by chapter, and try to learn that. Just try to read it and apply what you understood. You will not, of course, understand everything, and you will make a mistake or multiple mistakes, and then you will learn out of them, and then you will recreate everything. It's not like when you build sand castles, and first castle, I mistaken, and then you destroy everything and you create it again, and it's again not what you wanted, and you destroy it again, and then you gain experience, and the next castle is always better than the previous, and so on and so on. So that's the approach, and I'd say not only for microservices, but in general to any kind of project you would like to create. But yes, it would be good if you turn a little bit up to service oriented, because that's something that's really something nowadays. I'm working with Java EE and Java 7 for 2 years. Now at a unicorn tech company, whatever that means. But I fear that my skills are not getting updated. Yeah, I think your feeling is a realistic one. Is Java EE still used in the industry? So first of all, Java EE changed its name to Jakarta EE somewhere in 2019, if I correctly remember. So it's this standard has a lot of implementations, but if you said Java EE, I hope I'm wrong, but my feeling is that you are referring to like application servers such as WebLogic, WebSphere, JBoss, Glassfish, whatever. If that's the case, and I do assume that because you also mentioned Java 7, which is quite old, I would say yes. I wouldn't recommend you stay only with what you do at work. Do work for that company because you need the money, but spend some hours outside to learn all the things that came up to Java 23 or whatever we are now. Learn Spring, learn Quarkus, learn Hibernate, learn whatever is now used, and try, if there isn't any possibility to upskill in that company in the future, try to make an objective out of your learning to change to a project in or outside your company to something newer, because at some point maybe that project will get closed or get obsolete, and then you will need to work on something else, and it's rather likely that that something else will be something with probably a later Java version and a framework that is more used, and then you will find yourself in a situation where you don't know that stuff, and it will be difficult for you to get employed. That's my advice for you. Can I put as experience a bootcamp of 10 months? That's also interesting. I also have another bootcamp question here. Okay, here it is. So I'll put it here as being related to yours. Can I put experience? I would say yes. Yes, you can. I would put it as part of my CV, and I would explain in an interview what I actually did during those 10 months. Because normally, if you did actually work on a project and it was like a good project, same as the one I was describing here for you, but it was in a more, say, supervised environment, because that's what a bootcamp actually is. It's kind of a supervised, usually I'm not sure if that's exactly your experience, but usually it's more like a supervised environment where you work and learn at the same time, and you create a project and you deal with a lot of issues and you make mistakes, and exactly what I was describing also up there. So yes, do put that and explain what you did, but make sure that you don't explain that hey, I had a 10 months bootcamp and that's it. That's not experience. Experience when you go to a technical interview is, hey, I created this project, and you describe the project during a 10 months bootcamp. I would even advise you to put the project in front of the bootcamp, because the bootcamp and 10 months, this one and this one, they are not the relevant information in this statement. The relevant information in this statement is actually missing. It's what did you actually do during that bootcamp? What project have you worked on? Which are the issues you dealt with? Which are the mistakes you made, and how did you solve them? How would you do the things if you take the same project again? These are the questions. You have to put them before and give the answer up front. So this is not what is interesting. And if you formulate this in your CV, then put it rather like, I have created a project concerning this using these technologies during a bootcamp of 10 months. This is a better way of putting it. So don't put it like that in the CV. Put it with the project, technologies, and experience before the information about the bootcamp and 10 months. This will give you the entrance in the technical interview. And then when you are in the technical interview, you explain and you focus on the project and the experience and what you did there, not the bootcamp, not that certificate of completion or whatever. Don't even mention that, please. If you have any certificate of completion, don't mention it, it's a loss of time. Any certificate of completion, it's a nice thing to have for you to raise your morale for a short period of time. It's not something relevant for any technical interview. Okay, do put the experience in front, focus on the project, make your technical interviewers understand that you learn something, and show them that you learn something. So what are the things that the 3-year experienced Java developer must know? Again, difficult. So should I focus more on Java, Spring, advanced topics, all of them? So I'm going to put that question. I'm going to put it here, but it's difficult to answer because it's, again, there is no recipe. I also answered a little bit earlier. There is no recipe. So she's okay. Open source projects and role bootcamps. Okay, what did I answer to this? I said yes, but always refer to the project. So not to bootcamp and period of time. Yeah, and I give you an example here on how to put it on the CV. No, I created an accounting, let's say I'm inventing accounting related application using Spring Boot, MySQL, etc. during a 10 months bootcamp. So this is how you put it on the CV. Okay, you rephrase it, make it better, but I think you got what I wanted to tell you. There is no, now going back to that question on line 17. So there is no recipe on what a 3-year experienced Java developer must know. You start from the beginning. Even a non-experienced developer should focus on what's relevant in the market today. And in the market today is Java on the latest versions. 21 the latest long-term supported, 23 I think is the latest and counting. Okay, so always stay in touch with what's new in Java if Java is what you want to work on. How do you do that? You follow on Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, whatever. You follow experienced developer advocates who know about all this. I can make a list for you if you want. Okay, you might already know them, and you follow that. It's social media. You follow it daily. You see their tweets. If you follow Nikolai Parlov, for example, you will know always everything about what's new in the newest versions of Java, and many more there are out there. So I do recommend you follow them. And then of course you need Spring, and you need to know relational databases. You need frameworks, implementations of JPA, all of this all together. But be attentive. You don't need to be an expert. Actually, when you are in an entry level, you are not an expert in any of this. You start from awareness. You start from, I know they exist, and you grow them in parallel as much as you can, focusing as much as possible only on the most important, and then with experience getting T-shaped. T-shaped is when you know the T, when you say T-shaped, it's you get more experience in something and then you get awareness in others, and then the T extends infinitely, so you will get more experienced and more T-shaped. Okay, but there is no something like you say as a 3-year old Java developer, you know this and that's it, and you know them perfectly, and there is no recipe. You start from the scratch with being aware. I just found out that Spring exists. That's the first level of awareness. I found out this technology exists, and then I get more and more into it, more and more. And I don't only study one technology at a time. Preferably, I get more and more into that technology together with other technologies, and then I shape them into a project. And that's also why creating a project would allow you this, because it somehow forces you into learning those in parallel, because you will not be able to create a project if you only learn Java Core or Spring Core. I recently graduated college. I feel like I don't have skill to get a job. I've created a couple of Spring Boot APIs and started reading Spring Start here. That's a good start. Yeah, I do also recommend you other books, not only mine, but this is the book you are referring to, I guess. Okay. And what do you suggest doing to land a job? So just what I have, just follow this event, okay? Because I'm gonna put more and more things, but I have already described. And I think starting from creating your own project this way is one of the greatest things. And then apply, of course, apply to job interviews. Apply to them, create, did I mention, create a LinkedIn account and create a good CV, okay? Some people, some entry-level developers, they are afraid that they don't have what to put in their CV because they are entry level, okay? But if you create your own project, you already have something to put in there. So you already have some studies, and you have to make sure that you somehow make yourself visible. Remember that even the greatest developer of the times is no one as long as no one knows them. It doesn't matter that they are the best developer. If no one knows them, they don't exist. Create social media accounts, especially on LinkedIn, Twitter, or X, whatever the name is now. Sometimes you even find things on Reddit. Okay? This kind of social media might help you make yourself visible. And then post. Don't keep them passive. Read articles, reshare them. Write things, they don't have to be articles. Write your statements. Hey, I found this excellent course about Spring. Did you try it? I've just learned that this exists. I've just post things. If you have time for articles, good for you. But I don't mean necessarily articles. Post things. Make others aware about what you have learned. Work on your own project at the same time. Make others aware what you've done today. Hey, today I've just implemented my first Spring Data JDBC persistent level layer, and post that and apply to jobs. So don't only create your LinkedIn and apply to jobs. Create your LinkedIn. Try to fill it properly with all the things that you do. So create your profile. Don't over put stuff. Everyone knows that if you are an entry-level developer, you are not an expert in anything. Okay? So if you put expert in Java and you are an entry level, no one, I mean, you will make yourself more bad than good. No, be honest. Be honest with everything you put there, but put there everything you do. And then be active on social media. Post things, because the more you post, these algorithms of social media, they make you more visible. If you don't post, your applications might not be as up as others that post. Okay? Use keywords that make that describe best your experience. Java, Spring, I don't know, JDB, MySQL, Postgres, whatever you've used. Okay? These skills will come with time, and I agree that it's not something that I can tell you now, and I can make you an expert now just by giving some advice, but I think you got the idea. Start from here, from what I've told you, and see what happens. But don't give up. I mean, it's not something that I mean, don't post today and tomorrow and then you give up because, or next week you give up because it doesn't work. Because if you post for 1 week, even 1 month, I mean, you will not get there, no? Continuously start posting and making people aware about what you are doing. And it's like when you learn a musical instrument, if I'm studying for a week and then I expect I'm an expert on it, it will never happen, no? It's the same thing here. So never give up. And yeah, it will happen. What else? So next, what are the most important things to know about multi-threading? Again, let's take it separately. So I'm gonna filter everything that's related to our subject. Okay, all the others you can leave them in messages and we discuss them later. Is Spring a necessity for Java market now, or is Java EE still used anywhere? I would say yes, Spring is a necessity. If you are now an entry-level developer, please start learning Spring now if you haven't already. Yes, big yes. Okay, yes, please start now learning Spring if you didn't do that already. Okay. I did 2 Spring Boot projects, one with has UI time leaf, the other one with REST. I still don't feel ready. Why? Well, you will probably never feel ready. What does ready mean? Ready for what? You take this as a continuous study, continuous thing to do. Don't expect an I don't know, kind of a feeling like the light at the end of the tunnel. Hey, now I'm ready. You continue working on the project, you continue posting on social media, you continue learning, reading tweets, following your people that you know will give you stuff that you need. So as I advise you, and you continue applying to jobs. At some point you will get into interviews. When you get into interviews, you explain your experience. Remember, always put experience up front. Never start with I have that certification, I have a 10 months bootcamp, and so on and so forth. They are not relevant. They are relevant only if you put them in a correct way. It's like I've learned this from a 10-month bootcamp. I've learned this by studying and obtaining this certification. Always your experience in front. When you go to an interview, you focus on the experience, and then only at the end you tell your interviewers how you get that experience. Might or might not be important, but yes, why not? You can tell how you did that, so they see you invested. But experience is more important than how, the experience itself. What projects should be really impressive to see on a junior me developer GitHub profile? The business of the project is kind of irrelevant. As I told you, think about something that you would do even to sell it yourself. If you don't have experience with any business, maybe you don't have someone in the family, you don't have a friend, try to find somehow someone who needs help and create a project for them, even for free. Create a project for them, or maybe just don't tell them you create a project for them. You just ask them how things works and try to make that project, and then see if you can sell it. Do that, because you don't have anything to lose. If you can't make money out of it, like it was in my case, for example, I still feel I've learned a lot of from doing that. So no one would care actually what kind of project you created, as long as you created and they are realistic and they can prove you have experience, that you can prove you made mistakes, and you get the experience out of it. Is OCP 11 exam still relevant, or should I prepare to take the OCP 17 exam? Actually, I will put this, and I do think I have similar questions that I had on my list. So OCP 11, I would say OCP 11, no. I don't see any reason why you would still get your OCP 11, to be honest. OCP 17 or the latest, latest is now 17 as far as I remember, so I don't think that there is any 21 yet. I hope I'm not wrong, I didn't check, but I didn't see any news on Twitter and social media, so probably OCP is still the latest, but always the latest. If you go for a certification, always the latest. It doesn't make any sense to get an old certification. Why would you invest money on the certification and get 11 and not 17? I don't see absolutely any reason. Okay, and there are more, I think, here about certifications. I will get them. This one, is it necessary? Let's put it together. Is it necessary to get a certification to get a job? No either. So it's not necessary, but will it be helpful? Yes, probably will be helpful, because if you got that certification, I'm pretty sure that you learned a lot of Java. But remember, when you are in the technical interview, you don't put the problem as, hey, I have the OCP 17. No one cares. Only you care about that. Okay, but you can say, hey, I've learned a lot of details about the Java language and the latest versions, and I even managed to get my OCP with that. That sounds a lot more better. Why? Because you put the experience first, which is what's relevant out of it. Okay. As an advice for new developers, I used to search on the internet for repositories that use best practices to do a thing. Then I try to understand and apply the principles. That's a very good approach, as long as you can distinguish the best practices out of not so good practices. Be careful, even big frameworks happen to have things that are not necessarily good practices. Remember, even Java itself, even in the JDK, things have been rewritten lately, some things, and in the future there will be, because what we thought as being a good work in the past came out as not being a best practice in the present, because things change and we learn stuff throughout the time. And those best practices, they are things that we've learned throughout the time, which is, so it's normal this happened. Like, this is why we removed, not, I don't think it's removed, but we deprecated the files, the file class. We don't use anymore the Gregorian calendar and the time API. We have now a different time API starting with, I don't know, Java 8 or something. So throughout the time things changed, which is normal. Make sure that when you learn something, you know how to distinguish a good practice, a best practice or a good practice out of a not so good practice, so that you don't learn, I know, things that are not. Should we learn front end to do our own projects? I want to write APIs without seeing the visual. Yeah, that's a good point. So should you learn front end? Well, not necessarily, no. But in the end, as you say, so if you want to create your own project and it's a web application, you will need to expose it. No, it doesn't make sense to only create the APIs, which actually forced me at the time when I created my project. For example, at the time I used JSF. And this will be your decision to make on how you create that front end. You, for example, can choose technologies such as Angular, React, Vue, or a known JavaScript framework that will now drive you into being a full stack guy. Or you can choose something like Vaadin, for example, or another framework that helps you create the front end out of the back end, no? So there are alternatives. Regardless on what you choose, you might choose something, but you don't have to continue with that. So maybe you just create a very ugly interface for your project because you don't want to sell it to anyone, but you focus more on the back end. Or you can simply just this would help you simply become a better developer, a more T-shaped developer, by giving you also the front end experience as well. So Laura, I just wanted to say that this channel has helped me so much. I'm happy to hear that. I'm happy that you are also with us today here, so many of you. How much do you rate yourself in Java? If I give me 5 stars or no, I have no idea. So I prefer not to rate myself. I'm just a consultant. I know that I know that I don't know everything, and I always have things to learn, and that's, I guess, what happens to everyone. So I don't want to rate myself. It would not be okay. And if I would leave someone else rate me, actually, instead of trying to give myself medals. Victor Renta said that there will be no more just Java in the future. There will be full stack, where everyone is free to have their own opinion. But what I think it will happen actually is that we will be more driven to an engineering approach rather than full stack. So my opinion is that the full stack is not necessarily the future, but the engineer is the future. The engineer means a developer that is T-shaped, is experienced in something, but has knowledge on the others. So it's not an expert, for example, in front end, but knows some front end. I don't think that full stack is the future. I think that engineering is the future. But again, everyone is free to have their own opinion. I don't, and I don't say that mine is the absolute truth. Maybe I'm mistaken. No, that's we are here to make mistakes and to learn out of them. And unfortunately, none of us is able to predict the future. I'd be very happy to be able to do that. Imagine how much money I would make out of crypto if I would be able to do that. No, I'm joking. Okay, I'm gonna continue. So I've been searching an entry position for a year and have relevant projects in my CV. Still not managed to get a job. What now? So let's. I will put this in a different light. But you say I have a couple of projects that I've worked on, and a year. What does it actually mean? I didn't get a job. You didn't get in an interview at all, or you didn't pass the technical interview or the interview, because the resolution, of course, is different. The answer would be different for you depending on how on what actually happened. If you didn't get into an interview at all, it might be because you didn't create a strong LinkedIn profile, or you don't have a profile at all. Maybe you didn't share things daily or frequently, as I recommend you to get seen. Maybe you didn't apply to enough positions. You didn't make yourself heard in a way or another. If you did get into interviews but didn't pass them, then you can analyze yourself why. What actually in the first interview didn't I do well? And then if it's something technical that you didn't know, you restudy that. You try to understand it better. You try to see if it's something that in the way you are selling your knowledge. Maybe you didn't know how to explain the things. Maybe you know the things, but you didn't know how to explain them. Then that is a different skill that you need to learn as well. How should I express my knowledge and experience? Okay, and if you do that, I promise you'll get into a job. It's impossible. Just try to learn from your experience. Any experience should be a learning opportunity, and continue applying, and apply all this stuff that I have discussed with you in this video. I have given you already some very good advice. If you don't do them already, do them. I don't think it's possible. There are still things, and I'm already almost done with my time frame. So which means I will have to schedule another event to discuss the rest, because I do still have a lot of advice for you that I haven't given already due to the fact that we didn't have enough time. But I will continue with one more, and I promise you I will give you all my advice. But if you follow my advice, what we've discussed and what we are going to discuss, your chances of not getting a job will become smaller and smaller. So trust me, it will happen at some point. So I just wanted to thank you for everything. You explained things near. Thank you very much also. I'm happy to hear that. So what advice would you give me about design patterns? The idea is that I understand them, but it's hard for me to explain them. Oof. Design patterns are not an easy thing, even for the most experienced developers. What I would do, or what I did to understand better most of them, is I try to apply them. If you don't work on a project, you can try to apply them on your own project, but please don't try to apply them everywhere. I mean, remember, there is also over engineering, so you have to think about your code and see, hey, is there a pattern that I could apply here? Otherwise, it only counts with experience, so I don't have any magical recipe in this case for you. I'm not sure if I can do more than that. Weren't you a Java champion? No, or at least not yet. To become a Java champion, someone must propose you. So unless someone will do that, I will not have any chance. But my purpose is not a title as much as I'm trying to help you, friends. So regardless whether I will be or not a Java champion, I'm gonna always be here with you, trying to help you with as much as I can. So no worries, I'm not leaving anywhere. I'm who I am, and stay the same. Okay, I'm learning JPA by verifying it by looking at official. Well, we lost documentations, but there are so many things to see. Specification, Hibernate. Yes, Hibernate is difficult. I have some books. Find me on LinkedIn, and I will give you some material that I like. I also have my my videos here, my playlist on the Java channel. On this channel you can find it, and some advice that you can find in my troubleshooting Java about how to go through the code of difficult frameworks. So yeah, we do acknowledge all that Hibernate is difficult. It's, to be honest with you, it's very difficult. I mean, even a very experienced Java developer still, I don't think they can say they know very, very well. Even names who are very very big in this domain, they probably they can probably tell you that they don't necessarily know everything, and at least not by heart. Okay, so don't be discouraged about JPA and Hibernate, because it's not about you not understanding them, is that they are difficult, and even the most experienced developers still find things that they don't know with these frameworks. It's something, it's an absolute truth. Okay. How to design projects before implementing? I never design projects before implementing. For me, the implementation and design, they mix together. Usually we did design projects before implementing when we used a waterfall approach, but in software like dozens of years ago, and we don't use that anymore. We just think on the design during the implementation, mixing this together, and I think this is the approach you should take as well. How can I learn Java as documentation? There is a tutorial for JDK on the official website, but it does not include the new features. As documentation, I know what does that mean as documentation? You mean from the documentation? I would not advise you try to do that. I mean, if you want to study for a certification, which is, say, rather more close to knowing very well, like from the documentation, I would still recommend you guides to study that. So I would I would recommend you the certification guides for OCP 17 and whatever version came new, and books. I'm not sure if learning from the documentation is the easiest approach. I would not do that, to be honest. Or at least I would find it cumbersome. So I'd like to ask whether this better do a bachelor degree focused on computer networking or cybersecurity for a backend developer role. I think, I mean, any of them would be good. Probably the cybersecurity would be closer to programming than computer networking. With computer networking, you might end up more into the networking area rather than programming. So it depends on exactly where you see yourself in the future. Okay. Could you please make that list that you mentioned about who to follow? Okay, let me put it in the comment section after the video. Yeah, because I want to get all of them on my mind. Someone suggests Dan, Vega, Deshaun, Josh Long. Yes, but you also have Victor Rentea, you also have Ana Maria Mihălceanu, you also have Nicolae Parlog, you also Simon Martinelli, Thomas Vitale. I don't want to lose names, okay? So there are many. I will make a list of let's say my top favorites, and then you can choose who you want to follow. But yes, some of those names are part of the list. All of the names you mentioned are part of the list, but I have more names that that I will put on my list, okay? So how can you leverage a tool such as ChatGPT to learn something new? Let me address this separately because it's a longer discussion. I will actually put a separate discussion only on this because it makes a lot of sense. I'm trying to finish the questions now to close this because it's already out of my time frame. So I will have to end soon. And I will create another event to continue because I see that you are really interested. And again, I do still have a lot of things, a lot of advice that I didn't have the chance to give you, and then I want to make a list of this advice, like bullet points, and I want you, if you want to take them and try to apply them, and then come back to me and say, hey Laur, I managed. Okay, I really want to have that to happen. Okay, I'm trying to find questions, Java or Kotlin, both of them I would say, but I would start with Java and Kotlin after. Someone actually says that even after. Yes, I would do the same, start with Java and Kotlin after. Kotlin is the new Java, not necessarily. So I think both of the languages are still used in new projects and will be used in the future. So treat them as two complementary languages rather than two languages in competition with one another. What's a good place to learn some good design patterns? Books, maybe. I will have to search for some good. I'm gonna put this down on my list. So let me actually do that. So this one and the one with the list. No, I don't want to. Where was it? Okay, just not to forget about it. And then the one with GPT. No, this one. Okay, fine enough. Make sure that I don't forget what I promised. I have noted them down. Okay. How I learn framework internally like Spring. There isn't documentation explain the code. So what I do, and again, what I advise also in this book, is try to use troubleshooting techniques to go through the code. So I'm creating projects, and whenever I have a problem, what I do is go and literally debug the framework's code, trying to understand what the developers who created that wanted that there. Venkat, of course, yes, very good. Yeah, he was also on my list. I will share the list after. And I see, finally, I've managed to end the list of questions for today. I will have to end it here because we are already out of the time frame. But if you haven't managed to answer me the question, you see, so I'm somewhere here, and I didn't even start with the list that I initially had. So I'm gonna create a second event because it's a lot more to discuss, and then I want to also create that bullet points or list of advice cheat sheet. I want to create a cheat sheet for you to tell you what you have to do. With that, you will have very good chance to get employed, and maybe we can discuss later in other events also on how to upskill how to not only to get employed, but what do I do after I get employed? How do I upskill as a developer? How I get a successful developer? Cool. I didn't share my notepad, but I will maybe make a summary after we create the second event as well. Okay. With that being said, I have to run. So thank you very much. I'm very happy that there were so many questions. Like there are like so many questions and so many people, viewers at the same time here. I really hope that you will be here for the second event as well. And up to that, I'm waving goodbye and telling you have an excellent time for learning further. Cheers and have a good one, everyone.